Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 31st episode of Slime Time, the official DQ Dragon's Den podcast. This is Platy M3.
And this is Liam Land. So I was watching this nature show on YouTube with my 3-year-old son Alex recently, and it featured the platypus. And as soon as my son saw it, he says to me, "That's like the platypunk," and I've never been more prouder of him.
Well, I mean, he's right. That animal totally rips off Dragon Quest.
But from his perspective and like what he knows of the world, that's definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't believe it took us 31 episodes to get to a game that's this dear to my heart, Dragon Quest IX. This is the game that got me to actually go meet Dragon Quest fans in person.
Hey, me too. That's right, because you and I met in person at Nintendo World, which is now Nintendo New York, for a Dragon Quest IX local co-op multiplayer night when I was vacationing there. Gosh, it was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh wow, yeah, I remember that. We got together for a group photo, and I was able to organize a bunch of the regulars to show up. That's cool. Yeah, you get to meet the whole crew, and then I helped you unlock your DLC at Starbucks downstairs in Rockefeller Plaza. Oh, and we also showed up in the same Dragon Quest VIII shirt.
Ah, you're right. Completely unplanned. And I remember that Starbucks because it was the only place that we could plug in your old laptop.
Oh, that's right.
Had to find somewhere with a plug. Like, hey, look, there's a plug under the seat in Starbucks.
My ancient computer that's the only thing that'll work with the NDS Adapter Plus. Well, I cannot say enough about how versatile this game is, with what you can do with the game, with the local co-op, the grottos, the legacy bosses, the RNG manipulation, and even the pain points of unsupported lock content that got me to research how to MacGyver my way in to access it. There's way too much to cover in one podcast, so we're likely going to split this up into parts to cover different topics like local co-op, multiplayer, and such. For part one, we're going to be covering the story. So now, this is one of those games that I can go on and on and on with, but when somebody accidentally mentions it on our previous podcast, I'm just like, nerd. You ever heard of the term nerdjacking? Where like someone
I've never
just
heard that. No.
Nerdjacking is like when you hijack conversation with something really nerdy, and you just kind of go out, and the person listening is just completely not interested, but you're just nerdjacking the conversation with what you want to talk about and what makes you exciting. So that is me on any previous podcast where somebody mentions Dragon Quest IX, and I just go off for like a 10-minute rant. So I'm very excited to talk with our guest today about it, but I'm gonna try not to do that. If you want to pull me back and say, Liam, you're nerdjacking, I completely get it.
Well, I mean, the point of this episode is for you to nerdjack the whole thing with Dragon Quest IX, so I'm sure we'll be okay.
All right, cool.
Joining us tonight, we have a regular from the Dragon's Den Discord. In fact, it's the number 2 person there. Please welcome Bluestar, a regular from our SideQuest podcasts, now making her Slime Time Prime debut. Welcome, Bluestar, to the party.
Thank you for having me, Platy.
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm excited to see how this works out.
Yeah, welcome, Bluestar. I've listened to you on a number of the SideQuest podcasts, starting with the Ni no Kuni episode. It's a pleasure to have you join us on Slime Time Prime.
Yes, she's avoided the interview portion of our podcast so far, but now it's time to put her a little bit in the spotlight. Let's get to know our guest. So, Bluestar, how did you come up with your username?
So, it's actually a username that I've used since I was about 12 or so. It was actually my favorite character from my favorite book series as a kid. So that's where Bluestar comes from. Blue is also my favorite color. Everything I own is blue, to the point where it's kind of scary. So it just kind of stuck over the years.
So how did you originally get into the Dragon Quest series?
So I want to say when I was probably about 11, we got a PlayStation 2 as a hand-me-down from my uncle. And we went to GameStop and just sort of, raided the bargain bin there. And Dragon Quest VIII was one of the games that was in there. And it was $8.
Nice.
Fitting.
To this day, we still joke that it is the best $8 that we've ever spent.
Who sells back Dragon Quest VIII, though?
That's a good question, but
Final Fantasy 12 fans.
It actually did have the demo in it, so.
Oh.
Oh, there you
It was
go.
like
That's
the whole
it.
thing.
Yeah.
But it took me a couple of years to actually get into the game. There were a couple of failed attempts of actually playing the RPG because I was like 10, and it was my very first RPG ever. So I think the first time I played it, I completely skipped Angelo in Simpleton and walked straight off to Ascantha and finished Ascantha and was like, where do I go now? Uh, but over the years, it's to this day still my favorite game, and I absolutely love the series. And I've played just about everything that's been released in the US, other than maybe Dragon Quest Monsters 1 and 2.
What?
I just
you haven't played the Monsters games?
I haven't.
You're a monster.
Well, I actually haven't played the Monsters games all that much until about a year ago. I finally sat down and said I'm going to actually, after several attempts at DQ Monsters 1, I'm going to actually play through it. And I did. I beat it last January, and just recently I'm about to finish up Tara's Adventure at DQ Monsters 2. I'm actually really enjoying the second one a lot more than I did the first. So I highly recommend that one. It's got a similar kind of early style grotto system that is like instead of maps, it's keys, and they unlock endless bonus dungeons very similarly to the way that Dragon Quest IX works.
Very interesting. I'm definitely. It's the Dragon Quest Monsters games are on my list to try to play this year. So that's kind of my goal. Although I'll have to learn how emulators work or something, because I don't think I actually own any of the Game Boy systems that the games were originally on. So
yeah, fair enough. I have all of that stuff at home, but I don't have it in Japan, so I'm playing on my phone.
Always good to emulate there. I remember that was one of the first things, I think, right when I got like my first smartphone, and I realized you could emulate stuff on smartphones. I remember playing through Dragon Quest Monsters 1, mainly just between dog walks in the morning and the evening.
Yeah.
20 minutes at a time here, 20 minutes there, and next thing you know, a month later, I was like, oh, I beat it.
It's really convenient to do it that way. It's just because you're always going to have that phone on it. I'm just surprised that Nintendo never really kind of developed their own version of a paid emulator on a phone for all these games.
I just recently also, like a couple days ago, beat Dragon Quest V on mobile, and it's just so convenient to just have it with you all the time.
Yeah,
it's all those licensing agreements.
No, I think we talked about this, but did you go with Bianca or Nira?
Bianca. I have only ever convinced myself to choose Nira once, and it was a good decision, but it's so hard to actually commit to that. I love both of them, but the childhood friend romance just gets me every time.
Every time we bring that up, though, Pendy is always like, wait a minute, you hung out with her once. You went ghost hunting. That was one time.
She was my only friend, though.
No, Barongo. You got the little guy. Or Percy.
Percy. Well, they didn't really want to give that as a marriage option.
Yeah. But it's great that they wrote in like a joke about Signor Briscoletti.
That is good. All right, Blue. What are your favorite games in the mainline series? What are your favorite spin-off games?
So I've already mentioned Dragon Quest VIII. Still my favorite game of all time to this day. Second on that list in the mainline series, it's hard to actually rank them, but I'd have to say 6, 9, and 11 are that next tier. As far as spin-offs go, Dragon Quest Builders 2 is an absolutely impeccable game.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful, and the writing is spectacular, and I love all the characters, and it's just such a fun game. Heroes 2 is also a very, very good game, if for no other reason than how much it improves upon what it did in Heroes 1. So the style of the game is fun. Anything in a Dragon Quest wrapper almost immediately catches my attention. But just with the class system and everything, that all the quality of life updates that they made in Heroes 2, it's a very, very solid game.
Completely agree. I couldn't bring myself to do as much in that game, but I think it's mainly because I couldn't get in the first game, I got the cheap there's the cheap ways to grind levels, and cheap with the Reign of Pain, and cheap ways to get mini medals. So like that game, because I could grind levels so easily, I think I did more. But I have like the timer on both of those games is over 100 hours. So no, I can definitely see objectively two is better.
Someday I hope to actually get all the weapons in my encyclopedia in that game. But oh gosh, that is so many hours that it's gonna take a hot second.
Yeah, definitely.
Just take some vacation time and just plow through it in like 2 weeks. Then
Hey,
people
look,
ask you where you went on vacation.
Hey, look, I'm a college student. I don't get vacation.
Oh, summertime. So do you have any favorite characters or monsters?
Princess Medea is my favorite character in the franchise.
In horse form or human form?
Human form. But,
Okay.
like, she's also a cute horse. So, yeah, Veronica is also very, very far up there in characters just for how funny she is and how, just enjoyable her character is and how serious she can be at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she's one of my favorite characters from 11 too. Yeah, how about monsters? You said your favorite color is blue. Is the slime your favorite monster?
You can never go wrong with a slime, but I'd have to say a Great Saber Cub is up there for me because I'm not gonna lie, I'm a sucker for, little cats and dogs, and just look at his face. He's so cute.
Yeah, that's the big one, right? Or the little one? Or
The little one.
The Saber Cub. Oh, okay. I thought you meant the one that you get to ride in Dragon Quest VIII.
Okay, he's also very, very cool, but he's not as cute.
All right. So last question. Then we'll get on to our main event tonight. But what are some of your favorite mechanics in DQ games? What do you look forward to in when you're playing Dragon Quest games, like monster collecting, job classes, casinos, all those reoccurring things? What do you really like?
So alchemy would probably have to be my favorite. I do really, I mean, it's kind of a slog going to collect all the materials to make all the things for all the recipes, but I find it therapeutic to just, make a list. Hey, these are the things I need to go collect, and just go collect them and then make some shiny new stuff. I also really like overworld exploration. So Dragon Quest VIII with the hidden chests that you could find dotted around the world. Dragon Quest IX with all of the different sparkly spawn spots for different materials, and Dragon Quest XI with similar things to both of those effects. I just think it's really fun to explore the world that the creators have made for us.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. I used to love like just turning around a corner in or like just going around a hill in Dragon Quest VIII, and there's a hidden chest there. And then of course if it's locked, then you gotta remember it or make a point to come back, look at the map, make sure you come back when you got that key.
Oh man, I
might
had the
have
map.
most of those chest locations memorized. It's fine.
I had the strategy guide. I was like going point A to point B.
Oh yeah, I think I had
yeah,
that too. Was that the Brady guide or?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, the map that folded out was gigantic, and it had all those chest locations and all the the infamous monster locations and everything.
Oh, those are great.
So.
You actually see them on the map, and they're important.
Yeah, I want to say that map's two-sided, and one side is mainly like all the towns and all the treasure chests and everything, and the other side has all the infamous monsters. But
I never had the physical guide, unfortunately, but I do remember seeing those on the Den. I used those for a lot of playthroughs of Dragon Quest VIII because I probably play it almost yearly. That's how much I love this silly game. But you do it enough times and you just sort of remember where things are.
So true. But we're not here to talk Dragon Quest VIII tonight. We have gathered here this evening to talk Dragon Quest IX. So normally I give you a 10-second plot synopsis. Liam has written one out that might take me about 20 seconds to read. So we'll go a little bit longer tonight on the plot synopses. And I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping this spoiler free. This is this might be something you'd read on the back of the box. But or like the first page of the instruction manual or something like that, enough to whet your appetite to want to play this. So Dragon Quest IX came out on the DS in what, 2008, 2009, somewhere
Japan?
around. Yeah, in the United States. I want to say it was summer 2008 for us.
No, I think it was later than that. I thought it was like 2010ish or 9.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
exactly.
July. It was July 11th, 2010 in North America. It was July
Really?
11th, 2009 in Japan.
Okay. That
Yeah,
makes
so
sense.
I believe at this point, Dragon Quest 4 and 5 for DS had been released because I was still playing through 5 at the time that this released.
Correct. All right, so this was a DS release. You play as a Celestian, which is basically an angelic being. He's got the halo and everything. These people are invisible to humans. The Celestians, they live up in the observatory, that is, which is basically a big city in the sky. And they watch over the humans and what they call the Protectorate on the ground. All the Celestians, who again, they're invisible to humans, they interact with them to help them solve their kind of everyday problems. And once solved, the happy humans unknowingly generate what's known as benevolescence. It's a spiritual manifestation of positive energy. The Celestrians then collect this benevolescence as a special item and offer it up to the Yggdrasil tree at the observatory. You're starting to be trained as like the resident Celestrian for the town of Angel Falls. And you've got this mentor, Aquila, who is helping to train you. The Yggdrasil tree is starting to bloom. It's growing fruit called figs. And then suddenly Observatory gets attacked by this massive energy blast coming from somewhere down below. The attack scatters figs down to the Protectorate, and the Celestians' flying train, the Starlight Express, also gets broken into pieces, goes plummeting to the ground. And finally, your character, this angelic being, falls from the observatory down to, the town, Angel Falls.
One of many puns that we'll talk about
number
later.
one. And this all pretty much happens spectacularly in this anime cutscene that covers both screens of the DS simultaneously. And as you wake up in Angel Falls, you are stripped of some of your Celestian powers. Your wings are gone. Your halo's gone too, I believe, right?
Yep.
And you are visible to humans, and you can no longer see benevolescence. So you get joined by this little fairy-like character named Stella, best character in the game, and she is tasked to both recover the figs, repower the Starlight Express, and uncover the mystery of who attacked the observatory and why.
All right, well done.
Don't you want to play?
Except it's Starflight Express, I think.
Darn it! I said Starlight,
Yeah.
didn't I?
No, I just wanted to point that out so that we don't get angry letters later.
We've only received one angry letter.
Really? What?
You remember that?
No, I don't.
We got an angry email. It was like a 5-paragraph essay. I don't know if he's out there listening, but it was about my avatar
dare
and how I
you.
changed the hats.
Oh,
about-
I do remember that. Yeah, you changed the hats and for St. Patrick's Day, and you had like an
Yep.
anti-St. Patrick's Day rant.
It was a long anti-St. Patrick's Day rant.
Mm.
So
I'm
Here's-
just gonna. I think he was just being funny. I think I'm just gonna say thank you for entertaining all of us.
I was going to say, if you're still listening to us, don't worry. And let's see, this is middle of January, after the middle of February, it might be time to bring out the hats again. So hope you enjoy that.
All right, so let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly on this game. Bluestar, do you want to talk? What's the first couple of good things that you wanted to chat about?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier was one of my favorite game mechanics in the game was alchemy, and Dragon Quest IX did a lot of things to improve on the system that Dragon Quest VIII put into place. So it took the mechanic, expanded on it, and improved it. Everything was instant. There wasn't any running around to complete recipes, which I personally didn't have too big of a problem with, but I know it was kind of a gripe for a lot of people, and having stuff instantly, it's exciting. You're also able to put more things into the alchemy pot in order to create recipes, so you can have 9 of one thing and 7 of another thing and 3 of a third thing instead of just 3 distinct items as in Dragon Quest VIII.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do remember too that there's like a lot of guesswork in Eight's alchemy as well, isn't it? Like, you know, something iron, and then you have to kind of guess what that is.
Yes, that was something.
Or look at page 319 in the strategy guide. Telling you all this exploration and guessing. There's none of that.
Right.
Guessing was half the fun. But just the amount of things that you could create through Dragon Quest IX through alchemy in Dragon Quest IX was just a lot of fun. And like I said, I really like collecting things and going through everything. And especially, you know, with the thief class, it's really easy to get items from enemies. And it's just fun to sort of fill out those books and all of those recipes to make all of them.
Definitely. And I think 8 actually may have, I think they did this starting with the mobile version. They improved on the alchemy speed. So it's not, I think it's more instantaneous in the 3DS version as well. Yes,
that is correct. Even the original version of 8 had an upgrade that you could get for beating one of the post-game bosses that upgraded your alchemy pot to instant, but they ended up, you know, swapping that out for an extra bonus dungeon in the 3DS version. So.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the rewards from the Dragovian trials.
Oh, gotcha. Nice of them to give you that at the end.
Yeah, I know. Well, Blue, you brought up a good point. I never had a problem in the original PS2, like just putting stuff in the alchemy pot and going out and exploring and everything. But, you know, once you had that option, I was spoiled. I don't think I could go back to that again. So, once I played it on mobile, I was like, oh, geez, I'm not rocking out with the PS2 version ever again. And then when the 3DS came out, thank God they left that there. So, and then, of course, with 9, thank goodness from there, and 11 and everything, it's stayed that way, instantaneous.
It's also really fun because the alchemy pot in this game has a personality of his own. He's a character called Crackpot.
That's right.
Yep.
He's got a cute little face and angel wings and a halo, and he only talks to the main hero because they're the Celestian. Everyone else is just like, oh, it's a cool looking pot. Let's leave it on the desk here. And then you come in and just chat away with this pot, and nobody questions it, I guess.
I feel like there's a lot of that, though, in the game.
Yeah, they only question it if you zoom inside the Quester's Rest and you hit the ceiling, and then like one of the characters like looks at you and is like, yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Wait, really? I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, if you try to use a Chimera wing or zoom inside the Quester's Rest, I think one of the guys like turns and he says something. He's not exactly making fun of you. I think he's just telling you not to do that. But yeah, Crackpot, he's great. If you go and talk to him and he's like, hey, do you want to do alchemy? And you say no, then he says, he's like, oh, you must be inquiring about my health, and he tells you or something. I'm in tip-top shape.
A pot I may be, but I am in no way potty, I believe is what he says.
Nice.
So you also enjoyed the soundtrack?
Oh, absolutely. So as far, obviously orchestral soundtracks are better than MIDI soundtracks, but Dragon Quest IX did a really good job with its different tracks. The Observatory theme is probably one of my favorite tracks in the entire franchise.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Yeah, definitely.
And it's sad that, you know, you can't just by function of the story, you can't really explore that too often to actually hear that soundtrack. So, but even just,
you're talking about later in the story when you can't make it back to the Observatory. Yeah, I was thinking that too, but at the same time, if you hop into somebody else's multiplayer and they're early on in the game, you get to hear it again.
Huh, interesting.
So just keep a second copy early on. Don't get too far.
I think there's also a room in the back of the Starflight Express that plays the theme, but
is that right?
It's like an empty room and there's nothing
I know what
there.
You're talking
so
about.
you just go there and stand and listen to the music. And
oh, that's cool. Yeah,
so
they're
be like, what is she doing?
There is a function to that caboose room in one of the post-game quests, if I remember correctly.
But it only happens the one time.
Yeah. But I don't remember that about the soundtrack. That's pretty cool. about that particular track.
It's going to be really awkward if I misremembered that at this point. But
Oh, it's all good.
I misremembered that Dragon Quest IX actually had music. But I'm bummed. Yeah.
You know, there is at a certain point I did turn it off because I was doing so many grottos, and I didn't want to burn out on the Dragon Quest III dungeon theme, because there's only one theme for all grottos, and it's such a good theme, and I knew I was going to be doing so many grottos. I didn't want to just burn out on that one track.
that is a good point. I definitely spent way too, and I played Dragon Quest IX before Dragon Quest III, so I actually didn't know it was the Dragon Quest III dungeon theme at that point, but I definitely heard that track a lot.
But another great thing about the music, you mentioned the soundtrack, is that they took the final boss themes for every legacy boss and they matched them up at this game. So anytime you fight Dragon Lord, you're hearing the end song from the final boss song from Dragon Quest One. You know, you fight Necrosaro, you're hearing that one. You know, it's just amazing that they were able to line these up.
Nice. All right, we'll come back to get some other good things from Bluestar in a bit. Liam, why don't you give a couple of your positives?
Sure. Well, I thought that the character building and classes akin to Dragon Quest III were great. It learns from a lot of the mistakes they made in Dragon Quest 6 and 7 and puts restrictions that tie certain spells and abilities to the class. Now, at first, that's kind of jarring because you want those like godlike characters that know every spell and everything. But if you think about the way that the multiplayer would be, every character would be the same. You know, so instead of having the same godlike characters that can learn every ability and spells, you can better define the character classes and mix and match your party. Again, particularly important to define the job of each individual in the local co-op multiplayer for multiplayer battles. So you have one priest, you have one or two gladiators, you have a paladin, stuff like that. Everyone has a job to do, and it just makes it really interesting.
If I recall correctly, it's only the spells that are locked to certain classes. I think everything else, because I remember having like 45 pages of abilities or something crazy like that to go through. Right. But the spells are definitely locked to your specific class.
Yeah, and the abilities that are locked would be locked to depending on like the weapon, or if you have a shield or not, or if you're omnivocational in something.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are also some abilities that you can gain through holding a specific scroll in your inventory. And
yes. Yeah, that's fantastic. I love those. Like the crit blocking shield scroll, or the gritty ditty scroll, which like half oomps your entire party.
I remember being upset that I didn't have more inventory space to hold more scrolls.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, you have to pick and choose. There's that counteracting. This game was actually also the inspiration for Street Pass, so Dragon Quest IX's tag mode mechanic, where the players can ping each other and share in-game data and characters. It's what inspired 3DS's Street Pass. If you like tagging and getting data from other 3DS players, you can thank Dragon Quest for that feature, because Nintendo producer Hideki Kono actually admitted that it was part of his inspiration to add Street Pass functionality to the 3DS.
Yeah, I've mentioned that to a lot of people, and you know, not everyone's a gigantic Dragon Quest IX fan. So just mentioning that always elicits like, whoa, really?
Yeah, and we'll link to the Silicon Era article about that, just so that you can have that to read as well, because it is an interesting little fact that Dragon Quest IX and the Dragon Quest series in general is often a lot more important than people give it credit for in terms of inspiration for other series.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll go. Oh, did you want to say more about that?
No, I was just going to say, how about you, Platty? What do you think in terms of the good for this?
All right, I'm going to go in reverse order from what I wrote on the in our little planning document. I'm going to start with the puns. I got to go with the puns. You know,
everyone's favorite.
Well, I still feel like Dragon Quest fans are 50-50 on the whole pun thing, but I'm all in. I am all for everything being a pun. And probably DQ9 was the pinnacle of that. I think they pulled back in Dragon Quest 11 a little bit. Still tons of monster names that were puns. but I posted this on Twitter from the Slime Time account. I was asking about all the puns in the game, and Gratis, or
Is it Greatest?
Gratis?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Gratis.
I should have asked him that ahead of time.
He of 19,000, 17,000, something like that hours in Dragon Quest IX. He runs his own Dragon Quest IX Discord that is insane in the amount of detail that they've got there and everything about the game. And
let me just point out that's 17,000, not 1,700. He's got multiple playthroughs, multiple that all add up to that amount of time.
Yeah, he was, I think, through the year on the Den, and in his Discord, he was sharing progress on like his latest file, and it was just like 500 hours, 700 hours, 800 hours, and like this is just the 2020 run. It's like, oh my goodness.
17,000 hours is just shy of 2 full years of playing Dragon Quest IX.
I hear he likes the game.
Yeah, I went back
Maybe
and did the
just a
math, and
little.
it was something like 3 hours a day every day since it's come out, something like that. So, but he mentioned that he's like, basically almost every town names a pun, and that was great. Starting from Angel Falls, when you're this celestial being falling into the area. So tons of town names. A couple of my favorites were Swine Dipple's Academy, which that whole area is like a huge play on Hogwarts. You got swine, which is pig, hog, and then dimples, some not exactly warts, but they had to put something in there. But yeah, Swine Dipple's Academy was this academy, and you had to dress like the kids of the academy at the point.
Yeah.
And there was a whole plot line involving ghosts, so it had the whole magical stuff going on there.
That's funny. That's actually also very Japanese, though, to have like the school uniform that you have to wear.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's wearing the same uniform.
Oh yes, personas.
I wasn't even thinking that, but yeah.
Yangus isn't even here to gripe about Persona.
Nope. We'll put in a Yankees gripes about Persona. There we go. Add note. All Trades Abbey had a great one because the guy in charge of All Trade Abbeys is this one is the Jack of all trades. And then there was the nun.
Yeah. So when he's corrupted, no, when the Jack of all trades is corrupted by the fig, he eats the fig or he consumes it somehow, and he turns into the master of none. So he's also he's the Jack of all trades, the master of none.
That was quite great.
Yeah.
I think the biggest what have we called this before? The pun landmine that didn't hit till years later was the town of Zir Rocks. Early in the game, you're at this town called Zir. It's Zere. And you hear that a master sculptor has left the town at some point, and much later in the game, maybe just 10, 15 hours later, you encounter a complete copy of the town of Zir, and it's made out of rock because the master sculptor went there, and even though he left the town, he wanted to, or was expelled from the town or cast out or something like that, he literally carved an exact copy. And you know what? When you're just playing it and not saying it out loud, you're like, okay, so it's the town made of rock. Got it. But I never spoke it out loud until somebody pointed it out, and it's, Zere. You got Zir and Xerox. Xerox machine that copied that town just for you.
And it's in black and white because it's all stone.
Yep. You've got, there's so many different abilities, and so we can't go through them all, but one was the Metallicker. Metallicker.
Yeah.
It was a boomerang metal attack ability. I want to say like all of the different, maybe that's Dragon Quest VIII, that all the different levels of learning vocations are just incredible puns. Again, this game is over the top. If you thought any other Dragon Quest game had puns, this one like took it completely over the top. You got the town of Coffinwell. That it's the whole point there is that there's a disease going around, and you have to make it well again. And there's the quarantine.
everyone's coughing and cough in.
Cough in, and what we've all experienced in the past year. There's the place you have to go to find the cure or whatever's in the quarantine, which quarantine.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, you've got, what is it, the doctor in the town, Dr. Fleming, but it's spelled like phlegm,
Phlegm,
Phlem,
yeah.
GM.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Got to give a. Oh, go
There's
ahead.
also the Just Desserts.
Oh, just desserts. Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably turn to the skill page in the strategy guide here and just read all night long all the puns that are in here. But what? Couple more here. The when you have the main inn that you keep going back to all the time.
The Quester's Rest.
Yeah, the Quester's Rest. You have Selma, who is the sales lady, and Patty, who's running the Quester's Rest. And so you got Patty and Selma, just like the sisters, Marge's sisters in The Simpsons.
Yeah, and Patty is very similar to Party, and Selma has Cell in her name. Very.
Oh yeah, it's
she's the
SELL.
LLMA, so she's the DQVC sales lady.
Where's some people had commented on our Twitter that there's a Mummy's Little Hero quest, and there's a guy named Nicholas who's a skeleton who's had his pants stolen. He liked that one. But shout out to a couple of our fans out there, and this is said with a winky face implied. Baru Cafe and Rocket Slime, thanks for throwing in the screenshots and the Dragon Quest VII puns on the "What are your favorite puns?" in Dragon Quest IX tweet. Good reading comprehension. Appreciate the effort. But they shouted out some, and I'm reading. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Dragon Quest VII. I didn't even use Roman numerals. I made it very clear. But but yeah, there's tons and tons of puns in this game, and honestly, I'd say half of them go right over my head. Because they come so fast and furious.
The bank lady is named Guinea.
Oh, jeez.
I think there's even like the half the monster names are like cruel cumber or something. I was talking to Gratis about it last night, and he was mentioning that like practically like there's a massive amount of like monster names that are just complete puns.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm looking right in it now. You've got the alarmer. It's an alarmingly strong armor. I mean, like I said, there's the stale whale that looks like a basically a zombie version of a whale. He definitely looks like pieces are falling off of him, and
they must have had a lot of fun localizing all of this.
Yeah, you got Cumulus Vex, the which is basically a reskin of the Hell Cloud guy. But no, there's so many.
Do you mean the Cumulus? I don't think it's called the Hell Cloud anymore.
Well, no, he wasn't. But I'm thinking back to good old Dragon Warrior 7. But
Cumulus is its own pun.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. He wasn't. He was just Hellcloud before they decided to go all punny. So yeah, there's another armor guy. He's the Harmer. Armor.
But you have to think like who's naming these in the universe? Like is it like the final boss who creates the monsters, the demon lord? Is he like, I shall call you Harmer? Or is this like some in-game adventurer who's coming up with these names? Because I think that would make a little bit more sense. It doesn't make sense to me that like one of the main villains in Dragon Quest IX is like coming up with all these names.
Bad Karmer is another one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, the whole armor guy's lines are just great. You got Treevil.
Yep.
Oh man, the Explode, the Toad.
Oh my
with the
God.
guns.
Oh yeah. The Toad.
I want to say
so
all of the
many
ones in
those
that
for
line are
Toad
those.
Oil.
Yeah, he has like the countdown on his chest.
Yes. Yeah.
It tells you when he's gonna fire. For no reason. Oh, the Trauminator.
Oh yes, that's traumatic because man, that guy's
he's like, I must trauminate you, and he's like, you can just hear it in the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Oh, the rock bomb reskin. He's a grenade. Yep. Oh man.
All right. Well, we could do an entire episode of puns. Maybe we should keep going.
All right. So one of the other things I wanted to mention was the portability. This was the first game that was 100% on a portable device. You got remakes of Dragon Warrior 1, 2, and 3 on the Game Boy Color, and you had, as you said, Liam, by this time we had gotten Dragon Quest 4 and 5 on the DS, but this was the first mainline game that they just 100% was like, nope, we're just putting on a portable device. It's not going to be on a home console. And it's the only game that has stayed 100% that way. So we'll get to that later when we talk about like if there's going to be a remake and what we'd like to see. But first game, 100% on a portable device. First game, or the only game they've not even touched, as far as we know, to make it on another system. So, Blue, what about your other goods? What else did you like?
So the main, I have like 400 hours on my save file, and this is my second. In the last one that I played before they shut down the online servers was my second playthrough. So I have more than 400 hours in this game, probably somewhere. But a lot of that time was dedicated to playing multiplayer with my little brother. So it's absolutely the best multiplayer experience on the Nintendo DS. I will maintain that until the day I die. Just being able to actually run around in the same world as your friends and suck each other into battles that, you know, are probably way too high level. And I just have so many fond memories from running around in grottos with my little brother and my best friend from when we were kids. It's just the absolute, it's my favorite part of the game.
I think Liam too, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it's so great to be able to kind of go through and interact and even like save each other. You know,
Yes.
You're running through the grotto together, and somebody is just far enough away that generates a battle without you, and they can't handle it, and you can just hop in and help save them or die together. You know,
we died together a lot, but
yeah.
and you know, you can even also die and then just sort of wait there as a coffin for a little while until
That's
one
true,
of your
yeah.
friends decides to come revive you.
Yeah, that happened very, very often as well in our multiplayer sessions at Nintendo New York.
One of my fondest memories was I was being chased by a killing machine in a really tight hallway, and somehow I managed to be able to turn around in the hallway, but my brother was standing right there, and he watched me come up the hallway, turn around, and walk away, and he just was standing there like, what the heck?
That's right.
I think I got away from him, but I don't remember that part as well.
Yeah, there was stealth in some of the grottos. You could actually like turn. I forget the spell. Vanish. Yeah, vanish. And then you could basically vanish and sneak around monsters, but in some of the tighter hallways it was a little difficult to do, or for some of like the wider monsters like the I forget the name of it, but it's like the big spider monster, they would be too wide for you to sneak around them, and they'd always generate the battle if you tried to sneak around, or even just like hide up against a wall and wait for them to pass.
And then the character who generates the battle, everybody's like, "Gah, how dare you!"
Thanks a lot. So what else did you have on your list of good things?
So Dragon Quest IX was the first game that actually introduced side quests, as far as I know, because at least in Dragon Quest VIII they didn't have them. But just having all of these little side adventures to go on, and even some of the post-game side quests actually introduce a lot of the lore of the world into to the player. But just having those fun side little adventures to go on. Some of them are fetch quests, but some of them are actual, battle mechanic tests where, kill X monster with poison, kill Y monster with a hit doing 1 damage from a poison needle. And a lot of people probably get annoyed by some of those side quests, but I think it's cool to test your understanding of the battle mechanics and number tracking. Like, hey, how much damage have I done to this monster? Is he almost dead yet? Can I feasibly do 1 damage and kill him at this point?
Yeah. I love. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah. And, I know people were annoyed with how difficult some of those are, but at some point you got to realize they're side quests. If you're hardcore and you want to do them all, then expect them not to be all cakewalks. And if you don't want to do them all, that's fine. That they're not part of the game. I got going back to puns. I was looking at how many side quests are in the game, and there's 184 in the guide, and the last one must have to do with sheep because it's called Bleats Me.
Yes.
Yeah, I do remember that. So some of those side quests, particularly the DLC ones, they actually unlock parts of the map that you weren't able to get to previously. Once there's a specific side quest where you get access to flight, basically, and you can fly around to specific parts of like the mountainous areas, even Slime Hill, which is, I guess, just a hill with a cave on it that has like a ton of slimes in it. There's certain parts that you couldn't get to before that you now can with the Starflight Express, which is really cool mechanic.
I definitely remember being a little bit floored by the fact that flight was locked until post-game, coming off of Dragon Quest VIII, and I think I had played Dragon Quest IV before 9 came out, where, flight was essential to continue the story at one point. Just having it as a post-game thing was a little bit strange to me, but just with the amount of post-game content that Dragon Quest IX has, it, makes sense mechanically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of a little reward for finishing it.
And definitely want to echo what Blue said. Love side quests. I love side quests. The podcast and the mechanic. But no, I mean, it's something that you see a lot in JRPGs these days. I mean, you get games that are like, Xenoblade Chronicles, the definitive edition. Like games like built around side quests. 100 hours of side quests and stuff, but no, I enjoy doing them in games. I don't always do all of them. That is definitely not something completionist wise, but they're fun to do. And sometimes I just look at it and I'm like, no, I've been at this same place. I think we were talking about this in the Ni no Kuni 2 side quest. That I was doing every side quest in that game for quite a while. And then I got to like the second to last town, and I realized every time I'd been completing a town, new side quests open in every town that I'd been in. And I was like, okay, I can't just keep doing these. I can't go back to like 6 towns now and clear out another 3 or 4 side quests in all of 6 towns. So at some point I just had to stop. But I mean, in Dragon Quest 9, 184, I know I did probably close to about 140, 150 of them.
I ended up doing all of the side quests in BQ9.
I've also done all of them.
There's some that I wouldn't redo because they were a little bit frustrating. Like particularly ones where you had to wait for a very specific monster to spawn on the map, and then once you start the battle, it might not even be that monster. So some of those things that just kind of frustrated me a little bit, and I spent like hours and hours trying to find this one monster until I lucked out. But yeah, for the most part, I thought a lot of the quests were really fun and extended the gameplay. So the Gratum system and the Legacy Bots maps help to extend the game content exponentially, and glitched special maps result in the drive for many players to max level to 99, even revocate back down to level 1 up to 10 times per class. And there's an actual reason for doing stuff like that, because it gives you a better chance at generating higher level grotto maps the more times you've revocated.
You guys want to know a secret? I never actually did very many of the legacy boss maps in Dragon Quest IX.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I had way more fun running around the dungeons where you could get treasure. I do believe that I was on my 4th revocation as a minstrel or something along those lines. I never had a glitched special map, but I have one that has Platinum King Jewels at the bottom, and I just run around that as level 1 and hope I don't die, really.
Okay, well, as soon as I'm back in New York, I'm mailing you a cart with all the maps on it, and you can have at them.
I still have the file. I'm planning on going back to it at some point, but I'm planning on going back to a lot of things at this point. So who knows what kind of timetable that's going to be.
So some of the stories actually in this evoke a great deal of emotion and are lasting and memorable. Some of them legitimately made me sad to play through, but there's so much game to play, you just keep going. Like the ones that made me say were like Marionette, the story in Bloomingdale. The Coffinwell plot comes to mind. Did anyone else get those kind of sad vibes playing through some of these stories?
Yeah. I'll say I don't know if it. I don't know. I don't think it's any sadder than other games because I mean, like I immediately think of Dragon Quest VII when I think of this game in terms of how much story is packed into each town and how each town's almost like this little 3 to 5 hour story that is involved in all the rest. Because I mean, you've got the Falrush story in Dragon Quest VII that's like heartbreaking, and what is it? The town where everybody's turned to stone and they've worn away, and you can't save them.
Right.
So, but no, I mean, I completely get what you get. There are definitely legitimately like, holy crap! Like you just gotta solve what you can, and you're not gonna fix everything that's going wrong in this town.
And I feel like there's some of that in 11 too, but then they're like, "Hey, let's fix it with time travel if you want to keep playing." But in this one, it is what it is. Well, no, I mean, you can keep. I guess it was okay. Moving on, we'll edit that out. So yeah, the versatility of this game, what you can do with it between in-game, like the quests and special guest sharing, the canvas tagging, the multiplayer, in addition to the RNG manipulation, Hoimi tables, chess timers, alchem miracle prediction, and shop manipulation, item sharing, and shop rating tricks. All of this makes it the most versatile Dragon Quest game I think we've ever seen officially released in the West, in terms of what you can do and how you can manipulate it.
I did play with the chest timer twice. I didn't do it much. I didn't do much at all. You've both hearing Blue say 400 hours in this game, and I know Liam, you've got at least that much.
Between the multiple multiplayer sessions, I think we've got about I've got about 2,000 on my main cart alone.
And see, I played this game 2.5 times. When it came out, it was in the middle of my 2.5 year absence from the den that I took back in 2008 through 2011, and just didn't play video games much for almost about 3 years. But I got I remember getting this getting the call from GameStop like, your game's in. I was like, oh crap, I forgot I pre-ordered that. And went and I played it through to about 40 hours. I want to say I got to what's the evil empire? The
Giddish Empire.
The Giddish Empire. There's a pun right there.
Yeah, there we go.
I think I got to the Giddish Empire and then just was like, I haven't been playing video games much, set it aside. But I've since then beat it twice all the way through, so I don't have that many hours definitely in it as you guys. But I did a couple times after I met with Liam about 6 years ago. I came back and probably sunk another 20, 30 hours into it the rest of that summer, mainly just running grottos and playing around with all the little tricks that he shared and stuff. But I've definitely not spent very much time in that. But I know it's all there. That's awesome that it is.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely
go ahead,
I definitely abused the chess timers for getting all of the rare 1% equipment, 5-star, 4-star stuff. Because that's a lot of grinding on its own.
Oh, definitely, especially for things like what was the Dangerous Bustier?
Yes,
there was a quest for that one, and for the life of me, I could not get the Dangerous Bustier. And then when you get it, you have to alchemize it 3 times, and then bring it back to the Dangerous Bustier before you do the quest. Otherwise, you have to get another one. Because then you're if you're trying to 100%, you know what I'm saying? You'd have to get, because to finish the quest, you have to give it up.
The Divine Bustier is actually really good armor, so I usually keep an extra copy of that. But definitely, if you don't want to grind for a second one.
Yeah, which is hilarious, because isn't it just underpants or something? It's
that's a conversation for another time. But it does give you evasion chance, which can be very, very helpful.
Yes. Yeah, and the shop rating and item sharing tricks. Basically, you can just stand next to someone, give them a bunch of items, which takes it out of your inventory. The non-star shareable stuff. Just give them a whole bunch of items, and then shut your game off and restart it without saving. And now you have all your items, and they have your items. There's little things like that is just stuff I learned from other players playing in the multiplayer. The shop rating
Right.
tricks. So
I
the
do.
shop
I do remember that.
for shop
I
rating.
actually don't. The sharing.
Oh,
That's
we
cool.
didn't get to do any of that. For shop rating, so the items deplete in your DQVC. So if somebody goes into your game and then goes to your DQVC shop, they can basically just get all your items. But then if you shut your game off, it kicks them out of your world, and you can restart your world, and the shop items are back. So yeah, we used to do a lot of that stuff. Particularly, I have one save file that has half-priced Agate of Evolution ingredients in it from the New Year's sale from probably like 2012, and I've kept that save file untouched ever since. And I think actually RPG Wizard I think he used the Hoimi table to like help me to manipulate that so that it would show up with those items specifically in the New Year's sale, because you weren't guaranteed going to get what you wanted in the sale. It was just kind of a random like a plethora of items from that particular week. But it was cool to have those little tricks like that to kind of game the system. And we'll talk a little bit later about what could go into a remake, but I think some of that type of stuff is probably going to get lost. But so that's about
things that I was going to say. Things that won't get lost is some of the other good stuff I love. All those vocations. I love games with vocations. Yes, Dragon Quest VIII is awesome. I love having a set party of people that I can do stuff with, and same thing with Dragon Quest XI. But I also really love games with job class systems. Dragon Quest VII, I love that. I love going through all the monster classes with Gabo and all the different classes and being champion and whatever. Coming up next month is Bravely Default 2 coming out, and I love the Bravely Default games and just grinding for JP, job points, and having those ability to change jobs. And, speaking of Bravely Default and Dragon Quest here, I love in Bravely Default, every time you change jobs, you get a new outfit to wear. And Dragon Quest VII, well, they didn't do that, or Dragon Quest VII did that too. Later on in the 3DS remake, but Dragon Quest IX finally had the first real dress up in the Dragon Quest games. I mean, you had some alternate outfits in Dragon Quest VIII on PS2, but it wasn't
for two characters, but mostly for one character.
Yeah. Jessica and Hero, right? That was it.
Yep.
Nobody wanted to see Yangus dress up?
Guess not. They did in the 3DS, right? He got some pirate outfit.
He did get some pirate outfit. He looks dashing in it.
But yeah, I mean, in Dragon Quest IX, you equip something on your leg, and your leg changes, the greaves or the helmet or the whatever. It was all pretty awesome. And I thought it was great, except when it backfired. Because as Liam brought up the pun of the DQVC. If you ever sat around in your youth and watched daytime television and flipped through the channels and found the QVC, and buy now. But the DQVC was a virtual store that you could buy stuff from in Dragon Quest IX, and they were it rotated every week. You'd get new stuff, and I remember one time pumpkin heads were for sale, and they were helmets. And I was early on in the game. I think it was my second playthrough, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is way early. Like my defense might be jumping up by 20." And in a Dragon Quest game, a gain of 20 defense, that's a lot, especially for a helmet. Helmets are like +7, +9, +8. And suddenly I'm like at +20. I was like, cool. And I got 3 of them, but then I had to look for like the next 10 to 15 hours at all my characters walking around with freaking pumpkin heads. I mean,
nothing else was better.
Nothing else was better. I was like, gosh, do I want to sacrifice? I mean, at some point it came down to like, okay, I can get helmets which are like 3 to 4 defense less than this. I'm going to do it just because I'm sick and tired of running around with all these pumpkin head people. So, I mean, one minor bad part of that, but I love the dress up. I love being able to change the appearance of characters in
Yeah,
games.
character customization was a really fun part about Dragon Quest IX, and just being able to have your hero look however you want was really cool.
Yeah, except in the beginning when you're just like too early on and you just look like an 8-year-old who made his own Halloween costume. You get the scale armor and like the brown leather hat, or, like
Bandana.
the bandana.
And talking about dress up and 8-year-olds, my last favorite thing about the game was the Seth Green commercials, because Dragon Quest IX actually had like legit commercials here in the United States, and they had Seth Green. And where was the one where he showed up for the date, or he was trying to convince the guy what to dress up for the date, and like it's the fur he convinces him to wear or something like that. We'll link both the Seth Green commercials in the show notes, but there were 2 different Seth Green commercials, and one of them hit on the being able to change your class, and I think the other one really hit hard the dress up features of the game.
Do we know if he's a fan, or was that just obviously it was a gig for him to do, to be hired into a commercial, but like, does he play? Does he play Dragon Quest at all? Do we know? Does anybody know that?
Last time he was over, we didn't get around to it.
The last time we had him on.
Yeah, that's forgot to ask him that.
The one thing we forgot to ask him, right? All right. Well, we'll reach out to him on Twitter and ask him. Yeah, there was some celebrity presence for this game. I remember some of like the launch events or something they had. I remember seeing images of like Jim Parsons, the actor, like with some Dragon Quest stuff behind him, Dragon Quest IX. A couple of other like minor celebrities that I don't recognize that people post, like, but they're obviously like professional actors or in the music industry or something. This game got a lot of hype. I mean, they had Yuji Horii at the launch event, and I'd like to talk about that in a little bit more detail with RPG Wizard when we have him on a future podcast. But he actually went to that event, and Yuji Horii was there at Nintendo World at the time, Nintendo New York now. He was signing. He agreed to sign the first 30 copies, which is hilarious because like he could have signed as many copies as he wanted, but he did like 30, which is the amount of unique characters you would have at the end. So if you were like guy 31,
that's interesting.
If you were like the 31st guy online, you got screwed. But but it was cool because RPG Wizard was within that range of 30, and I think he got like a photo taken with him with Yuji Horii at Nintendo New York. So I want to have him on at some point to talk about that experience as well. But like I said before, I was playing Dragon Quest V at the time, so I was like, you know what? I ended up skipping all the launch events so I could finish up 5, which is in retrospect a bad move. But thankfully, some point around like October 2011, I got myself to just walk from work, 15 minutes or so to Nintendo World so that I could meet up with other players, and that's how I really got into Dragon Quest IX. So
all right, we've hit all the good. What's the bad?
The bad. Who wants to start with the bad?
You know what? I'll start because as they asked me before the game, like, "Aren't you gonna put any bads in there?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." I mean, I guess there's probably something wrong, but I think you two are going to. Looking ahead to I know what you guys are going to talk about. You're going to hit on everything. And I know this, I might be stealing somebody's thunder with this a little bit, but I always found it awkward, the other 3 characters in the game that you could recruit and bring with you, because, I mean, they're complete blank slate, complete nothings. And even like when you go back up to the observatory at parts later in the game, they're not there with you, and then you go back down, and you go back down, and they're there next to you. It's like, what the hell?
They are not Celestrian. They're not allowed in the observatory.
Correct. So I mean, they're like saving the world with you and helping things out one by one, but they are completely like, dude, wait here, I gotta go.
Yeah,
do
right.
Some stuff up with God for a while. I'll be back.
What do you think they're thinking when they just see you just like zoom up to they're just standing there on the protector, like, you guys want to go back to the Quester's Rest then?
Get a beer.
Yeah,
He'll be gone a while. Go get a beer.
Let's get a beer. He's doing some God stuff.
They do all
So-
the work with none of the recognition.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe not so much bad as just like kind of like just awkward from a story point. Like what the hell? Like I don't know. At least in Dragon Quest 3, you hear about the hero and his companions and all this stuff. But Dragon Quest 9 is like you're literally just extras.
Right. I feel like they haven't really gotten the personality system down yet, though. Like they've got it in 3 and in the Monsters series, sort of. They just have it as a defined kind of character trait that affects how your stats grow, but it doesn't actually affect like party chat, and that's something that I think the series would benefit from. Is like you take these blank slate characters, give them some kind of personality, and just have. But then when you do that, it expands the amount of localization that's going to be necessary. So it is kind of a complex
And not
problem.
even just localization, but just work for Japan.
Yeah.
If you were to make 30 different personalities, you'd have to have each reaction 30 times throughout the game.
And different. Yeah, and then you'd have to translate all of that. So
Yep.
it's a big problem. But it would make a significant improvement to the blank slate characters. We had at least some kind of reaction instead of 3 protagonists from a Grand Theft Auto game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely missed having actual companions traveling around with you in this game. Just being able to actually see them have character growth it's one of the cool things that I really liked about Dragon Quest VIII, and in Dragon Quest IX it's just absolutely nothing. So it is a bummer, and I do think it would be cool if they could have some reaction, but I also agree that holy cow, that's a lot of text.
You hear a lot about the plot in this game. Well, I think it's all right. Many of the fan base seem to comment that they didn't enjoy the overall story. I thought it was a typical Paradise Lost story. It's very biblical, with the fallen angel main villain representing Satan, and the figs as the forbidden fruit that once consumed are corrupting humans and creatures. I didn't think this was such a bad thing, but according to many of the comments on the plot that I've read over the years, I know a lot of Dragon Quest fans, particularly in the West, found this kind of uninspiring or perhaps too derivative.
Which is funny because what was that? Was it you that I fooled with the Dragon Quest X plot summary in our group chat that one day?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
No, I think it was on an actual podcast. I was like, wow, that sounds awesome.
Oh, I think I typed it in as a summary for this. Yeah. But you're right. I had mentioned that here's the plot for Dragon Quest X, and basically I took like the plot of all Dragon Quests, like you're a young person. Eventually you grow up and you leave your town and find companions. You go town by town saving, fixing their problems as you work to save the world from a disaster caused by a demon lord or something like that.
It was a little more detailed than that, but it was definitely oh, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to play that one.
but so, I find it funny that, this, sure, the plot of this isn't great, but is the plot of any Dragon Quest game like so nuanced and so amazingly great that this one stands out as completely uninspiring? I don't think so.
No, I
thought this was fine. It fits in with all other Dragon Quest plots.
Yeah.
And just the relationship between the hero and the other Celestrians, and trying to solve the mystery of, hey, what the heck is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And learning about the Giddish Empire and everything that sort of ties together at the end. It definitely has enough layers, in my opinion, that it's a good story.
Yeah, I thought the story's just fine.
All right. So I put that on the bad list just because I know that is a pain point for some fans. But yeah, I guess
I'll completely agree with you, though. I've seen that multiple times. Like, you don't need to worry about 9. It's on the old DS, and the plot's kind of whatever. You could rush through it in 30 or 40 hours.
Well, I would also cite that a lot of and I'll mention this a little bit later, but a lot of people haven't been able to take advantage of a lot of the content of this game, and that affects their enjoyment of it. But yeah, that's another a comment for later on. But oh, actually, no, it's for right now because that's my next point. So speaking of the West, not everyone in the West, in fact, most who lived outside of cities or with centralized populations, was able to take advantage of multiplayer and canvas tagging. This combined with the DLC locked content that was later left unsupported means that the portion of the game was left inaccessible natively to many players.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this at one point. I know I've made this point before, that Dragon Quest IX was, and it was probably in my 2 episodes I did, Liam, over the summer without you getting ready for your baby. But I think I made it in both talking with Austin, that Dragon Quest IX definitely feels like a prototype for Dragon Quest X. It feels very much kind of like it could be an MMO, and the fact that there is all this stuff locked behind content, the online content, and there is a lot of multiplayer stuff and canvassing. It was almost meant to be played with a lot of people. It was meant to be this kind of half single player, half MMO. And yeah, I mean, for the people in the West, I mean, I couldn't probably draw a circle around my house for 20 miles and find another Dragon Quest fan easily enough that would that's there, let alone anywhere that we could tag or find and get together and play. So yeah, it's a step towards MMO-ish, and you take away the ability for most people to do that because it had to be in person. And with the DLC and all the stuff that has disappeared, with Nintendo no longer supporting the DS online, then yeah, you've definitely neutered the game a little bit.
Yeah, and I remember too you'd put it in canvas mode to kind of tag with each other. I had it in my pocket. I'd be walking around within months after release, walking around New York City, wouldn't get a single tag. But as soon as I went to Nintendo New York, within, again, months after release, you'd get 1 or 2 people, sometimes 3, and then you have to clear them out and make room for more, depending on how many people were showing up for the multiplayer.
Yeah, I was fortunate on the multiplayer side to have 2 friends who played the game, but one of the features with canvassing is as you get more guests to join and start appearing in the Quester's Rest, the Quester's Rest actually expands. And at that point, you know, there are special VIP guests, which are characters from old games who will give you more things as you expand the Quester's Rest. So in order to get to the maximum expansion level of the Quester's Rest, you need to have 30 people canvassed, which in the West just is not really feasible. And you know, since we had a party of 3, there were a couple of friends who I tried really hard to enlist in the series, and so I was hoping to give them a copy for their birthday. But before I gave them this used copy, I shamelessly played through the opening events 28 times in order to canvas the extra guests on our respective copies. So I killed Hexagoon a lot.
Oh yeah. I have a similar story, but I didn't do that personally. RPG Wizard used to get to Nintendo World probably about an hour before I did, before I got off work. So he would take the in-store copy and he would play through. Once a week on Tag Mode Tuesday, he would play through the. I think he used to speed run it in about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
To get to the Quester's Rest, to unlock an extra tag, because it's for anyone who showed up, and for me in particular, because I was late. I missed all the launch events. I didn't get 30 until I don't know, probably around November 2011. But yeah, a lot of that was like on a weekly basis. He would just be going in and doing that weekly every time, for people to have at least one new tag.
Wow.
That's a lot of playthroughs.
And see, I never had a second copy of this game. I probably would have done that because going back to Dragon Warrior 7, where you could get the townspeople and trade them for the immigrant town, but you could only trade them if you had their save file on a memory card in your PS1, and holy cow, I started a new game and played through 30 or 40 hours to get to that part where you could do immigrant town stuff.
Wow.
And I made sure I recruited like one or two of every type of person along the way. And then I just duplicated that save file like 10 times on my card and just could trade. And I could do all the different final versions of towns in Dragon Warrior 7. That was a pain in the butt.
Oh, I don't remember trading through save files with that game.
Oh yeah, I mean that was tough because you'd recruit, like you'd go find a random nun who would join your town, and you'd go find a random merchant and this and that. So there were all those different final versions of towns, like the casino if you had enough of thugs in it, or you could have the holy town if you had enough priests and nuns. And the only way to do that would be to trade. I mean, unless you spent endless hours kicking people out of your town and then only recruiting specific ones. The way I did it a whole lot easier was I just had an extra save file that had like a couple nuns and a couple thugs and a couple tough guys or a couple merchants, a couple farmers, because that was another one, a farm town. And
so you could trade the same guy back and forth?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can't do that.
That's the thing. They didn't. Yeah, like it wasn't as sophisticated as at least with Dragon Quest IX. And since you could have multiple save files and on the memory stick, on the memory card, you could make different save files. Like, yeah, I mean, it would be like, hey, I'd pull it up and like on one I was Platty and the other one I was like, they just named him like Tom. But I had like 10 different ones on my memory card, all named Tom, because I just duplicated that save. And I just had to really I remember having like a piece of paper like, okay, first Tom, I have traded people out of there, so delete that one later. And like Tom 10 never got touched. I never touched Tom 10. So if I needed a bunch of farmers, I would duplicate Tom 10 and get 2 farmers from each one of my other Tom 10s.
Yeah, I have like Link and Zelda and Ganondorf in my Quester's Rest. It's a good time. It's a party.
Nice.
They all are wearing what we talked about earlier, like the leather armor and the bandana. They're all super stylish.
Yeah. Do you remember what you had your character say, so that when people tag and then you go talk to them and it has a little like you put some custom text in there? Yeah,
so my character, I think I had the accolade set to Sagittarian, which is the level 10 bow accolade. I don't remember what I said set for the greeting.
Oh, okay.
It might have been something silly like let's go kill some stuff or something.
Yeah. I think I went dark with mine. I was like, "Pardon while I wipe the monster blood from my blade." Because here you have this like little chibi character who looks like a child. He's just saying something really vicious. So for the final bad, Bluestar, you had one other thing you wanted to mention about alchemy.
Yeah, I guess it's appropriate. We kick off the goods with alchemy and we end the bads with alchemy. So as far as alchemy goes in Dragon Quest IX, there are a lot of recipes that require a lot of very hard to get materials. And I've said it before, I love collecting materials. But then you have these alchemy recipes that have a chance to fail and not give you the one that you want.
Yeah.
And so just as far as asking a little bit too much, I think they might have gone over the hump, or over the hump, crossing the line there, with just how much time it takes to get the items that you actually want. Because I think it was like a 1% chance for it to transform into the good
miracles.
I think I thought it was something like 10%, but I could be wrong. But still, even that
10% sounds better. Let's hope it's 10%.
I think 1% was like some of the rare drops from some of the grotto bosses were like 1 to 2% or something like that, which is also ridiculous. But that's why we have the Hoimi tables to try and predict when they're going to drop some of that stuff. Or for the Alchemiracles, you could use that as well. the Hoimi tables could predict when an alchemy miracle is going to drop. And I think I did that for the vast majority because, agate of evolution farming is a pain in the ass. And I talked about the shop doing the shop manipulation so that you could get those materials, because otherwise it's a pain. You're not going to 100% this game. You're going to probably burn out before that happens. So yeah, I get that. Alchemy is both a blessing and a curse in this game.
And see, I never went as far as you two down that alchemy hole, because I mean, there wasn't. I never did so much post game stuff like that. But
I didn't get very far into the alchemy hole either. I saw that there, and I was like, let's go work on the other recipes first.
Well, I think I made it a point to 100% because we had so many guys in the multiplayer that would just we had this little, bragging contest going on. Oh, I got these stats and I got these, and at a certain point, you want to keep up. So you would go for that 100% monster, 100%, quest completion and all that. The one, of course, person that I never caught up with was RPG Wizard, he'd done revocations 10 times for every single class.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to 99 on every class and 1 revocation on Sage and 4 on Minstrel, but yikes.
Yeah, I think I did the 10 times for Gladiator and Paladin, and that was it. Or maybe Priest. But yeah.
I revocated once.
Yeah.
We're proud
with one character.
Proud of you, Claddy.
Yeah.
Yep. I was just happy when I showed up to that Tag Mode Tuesday with Liam one time, and they were like, "Hey, let's run this. Let's run this legacy boss." And I was like, "They're like, so who do you got?" And I was like, I did have level 99 Paladin, so, and I think it might have been revocated. I can't remember at that point, but probably, you know what? It wasn't, because I didn't have any of those really great maps. So nope, I just had a good old level 99 Paladin. Everybody else is playing with their we've revocated 10 times, and that's what I remember.
All right, we've talked about the good, the bad. Let's talk about the ugly in this game. I don't have much, but I would say that the unsupported DLC locked content. Now, this isn't specifically DLC, but it's actual content on the cart that is locked until a ping from a specific server setup is met. I would say that this would probably be one of the only rare uglies within this game. A few years ago, a fan server was developed to mimic the real server. If you research it, you can find the details about it online. It just requires a WEP connection. Search GameFAQs Dragon Quest IX fan server, and you'll be able to find it. I believe according to Gratis, we were talking about this last night, the original owner of the server goes under the screen name Baron Waffles. And he hosts the fan server. It has a GitHub repository for it. And special thanks to Gratis for helping me to verify the host of that fan server. There are other means to hack it using a save file ripping tool, such as the save editor or action replay. I do not recommend AR just because of the various bugs and issues that can wreak havoc on your save file. I remember seeing various panic posts on GameFAQs even around the first couple of years, but even within the past year, I've seen people just panic because they glitched up their save file somehow and couldn't fix it, forcing them to restart from scratch. So again, use AR with caution. If you are absolutely sure it's a clean code, if you're confident about it, then by all means. But otherwise, I would stick with another method. The NDS Adapter Plus does not have supported drivers and requires a very specific Windows 7 32-bit setup or logging in with unsigned drivers on a 64-bit computer. The NDS Adapter Plus is the only reason I still keep my old Windows 7 laptop lying around. If you have done the mail and tag with me in the past, that's the method that I've used to unlock it to make sure it's safe. I've also heard we have folks have had some success with the R4 dongle if you're able to find that one. So yeah, and definitely there's a lot of ugly surrounding the unsupported DLC, because to get access to this game, it's a lot. You have to MacGyver a lot of to figure it out. And thankfully, we've got that fan server to kind of mirror the DQVC downloads, which is great. But even that, you have to do unsecured WEP access to either your router or your phone. So do that with caution. Again, we'd put it on for a little bit and then shut it off immediately, just to prevent any security issues.
Yeah, other than that, I had a hard time coming up with the bad, so I've got no ugly. 3 Pumpkinhead characters, that's pretty damn ugly, let me tell you.
Yeah, right.
At least after the first hour, it's like, please, come on. Can
Well,
I
one
just
of the
get
things,
a freaking helmet?
this isn't exactly ugly, but it's worth mentioning that sometimes you could tell which NPCs were important because of their resolution.
Yes.
Do you remember that? So like some of the uglier
important NPCs had actual 3D models, and everybody else was a 2-dimensional person living in a 3-dimensional world.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you'd always just look for the low res guys and like, oh, I don't need to talk to you that much.
Oh, all right. So kind of get to the end of our Dragon Quest IX talk here, and this is something that I know gets endlessly debated among the fans. What do we want to see when this gets remade? Because I am 100% certain this is going to be remade.
Oh, definitely.
No, yeah, it's got to happen. Every game in the series is out there on multiple devices, mobile, remakes, second remakes, third remakes. Maybe nothing's been remade 3 times. I don't know. But new consoles, 3D from 2D. I mean, even Dragon Quest 11. You've got Dragon Quest 11S that's come out like on multiple systems now over the past 2 years. Like, I can't wait till next year when they're like, hey, we're gonna have Dragon Quest 11S on your phone or something like that.
Yeah,
oh my
right.
God, that seems like the only main stuff we're getting for a few years here.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's the only game in the Dragon Quest series that's still stuck on its original console with nothing ever done to it. So I know it'll happen at some point. Will it be Switch? Will it be Switch 2? Who the hell knows? Couple things I would love to see happen to it. I would love it to come out with like Dragon Quest 8 or Dragon Quest 11 level graphics. I want to see the cell shaded, non-sprite based graphics. I want it to be upgraded that nicely.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
And really, go ahead.
I was gonna say particularly like I'd love to see them do the Dragon Quest 8 style. I think they did such an amazing job with making that look like an anime world, and just all the sprites and stuff. And Dragon Quest 11 is great, but I liked the kind of cartoonish feel of DQ8, and would like to see it kind of go that route, and even just the maps where you could get lost because the camera angle is like down lower, and you're almost seeing it almost like a person. It was a third person view, but almost like a first person. Yeah, that definitely with you on that.
I know you guys are going to have your other stuff too, but pretty much the other thing that just comes to mind is that balance, and we talked about this earlier, between having 3 blank slates that kind of just do nothing except for fight in your party. Later on in the game, in Dragon Quest IX, in the post game, you can get some of the NPCs to join you. Like Patty, right?
Yes.
Patty, Selma,
Aaron.
Yep, Aaron. Yep. Another good pun. She runs the inn. Aaron.
Yeah, right. Can you get Selma? I think
you can.
Yeah, I think so too. I remember her costume.
Oh, it is her outfit. Her quest. I had glanced past it. It was like Selma sells out or something like that. And it's the one that she gets. Oh, quest 139 has Selma sold out. The reward for completion: Selma joins your party.
Nice.
So, I mean, I think it'd be cool that if they had that option early on. I mean, it doesn't have to be those specific characters, but that, I don't know, maybe if you want to do the blank slates, great, but maybe they have just 3 people that are pre-made, that if you don't care about the hair or the whatever, like you could take these 3 pre-made people that have names and have personalities with you.
Yeah.
If you want to go the other way, great, go that way. But I would love to have those, or at least some of these other people that could join you sooner. Because by the time you've done that, you're at level 80 and 30 different classes and blah blah blah, revocated, blah blah blah.
And then
there's no way they're
new
catching
party
up.
members are level 1.
Yep.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's true. And you're like up in your 60s levels, and you have to like. But I liked in Dragon Quest IV, you could hire in certain chapters you could hire NPCs. You pay them and they come join with you. I think the ones that are the most memorable is in Chapter 3. They had Laurel and Hardy in Talon's chapter.
In the DS version, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like stuff like that. And I think they introduced that into Dragon Quest X as well, if I'm not mistaken. You could hire.
Oh yeah,
You can hire
that's how I
NPCs.
beat version 1.
Nice. So maybe something like that would be an interesting addition into just like if you really want to spend money, you can hire additional NPCs and they'll have their own personalities or something.
Mm-hmm. So what do you want to see, Liam?
I guess I just want them to preserve the positive bugs. Because I know that some of the bugs in the maps in this game are associated with the DS hardware and how it interprets the software. So, like the all Metal King Slime special maps, like that's really specific to the DS hardware. So obviously, if there's a Switch version or anything with online multiplayer version DQ9, that's probably not going to transfer unless they specifically build it in. They'll also need to tighten up some of the predictability, like seed farming and chest timers, alchemical timers. I suspect it'll be harder to game the system if they do a remake. I kind of almost hope that it is harder because if you're playing in an MMO world, you don't want people like you don't want people just like going in and cheating their way to being top player kind of thing. It kind of ruins the fun. But yeah, it is a downside for completionists because it also means it'll be significantly harder to 100% all the monsters, weapons, items, and alchemy. But I hope that the DQVC and all that stuff is accessible and not cut off after a couple of years. Blue, how about you?
Well, with Claddy talking earlier about running around with pumpkin heads, I think a really good quality of life upgrade that they could add in was an appearance setting so that you could equip some items to your appearance and others for your stats. They have this kind of system in Dragon Quest of the Stars, so it's definitely possible and it definitely works very well.
They have this in Dragon Quest Heroes too.
Yes,
didn't they also put it in the definitive edition? Did they put it in the definitive edition of 11?
They did.
Only in 3D mode, but yes.
Correct. Oh, that so annoys me that it's not in 2D mode because I'm someone who rarely replays games. I need like a remake like from Dragon Warrior 1 like 13 years later to Dragon Warrior 1 on the GBA or GBC. I need that length of time, or at least Dragon Quest 8, like 8 years, or gosh, it was probably 10 years before the 3DS version came out. Like I needed that time. So when I got the definitive edition, I went straight into the sprites. I'm like, I got to play it sprite based. And God, seeing that hero's hair, I'm like, oh my God, I can never get rid of this until I find the armor that. Till I get to that armor. But no, I would love that. Yeah. And I want to say Dragon Quest Builders 2 had this as well.
Yes.
So I mean, they've done it. It seems like something that they've more recently realized is a good-looking thing. I mean, there's other video game series out there that sell hundreds of dollars of DLC just to change your appearance. So it's a known thing.
Yeah.
Please don't do that, Dragon Quest 9.
One of the things I think they'll change too is I bet they rename the Luminary class in the DQ9 remake to something else because Dragon Quest XI sort of redefined Luminary as the spirit of the legendary hero. However, in DQ9, it's more like kind of like a J-pop idol, a pop star. They've got dance-based attacks and special dance coup de grace, all of which tend to generate laughter when someone randomly enables them in the multiplayer.
What was that called in Dragon Quest VII? Because they've had that class for a while. Was it Luminary?
I think it was, well, in 6 it was Dancer, I think.
Dancer is a prerequisite for Luminary in Dragon Quest VI. I don't know what it is in Dragon Quest VII, but the equivalent of that class in Dragon Quest of the Stars is a superstar. So I can see them renaming Luminary to Superstar if there was a remake.
Superstar was the original Dragon Quest VI translation as well. For fan translation was Superstar, as I remember.
I think it might be that in Dragon Quest VII on the 3DS. That sounds familiar too.
Which is hilarious because this is very much a Japanese cultural thing to have like a boy band or J-pop idol bands like as characters in a medieval fantasy setting, and they just break out. Like they even have Luminary costumes which are like a white tuxedo and a white top hat.
Yeah. Or you can play Tokyo Mirage Sessions and have an entire J-pop idol game with Fire Emblem medieval people right behind you the whole time as your personas. Flip that whole thing around.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've come to our last tiny segment. Now, Bluestar, have you listened to any of our main Slime Time episodes?
I have not.
Oh boy,
Oh,
we've got
you're in for it now.
Oh boy. We're back to high school here. We were talking off air when Liam was gone, and like, thank God we're not in high school and don't have to wake up at to go to class at 7:15 in the morning. But we're gonna put you back in maybe like the middle school, high school mode. Did you ever play like Marry, Fuck, Kill, or do you know that game? That
I know the game, but I don't think
of it?
I ever actually played it.
Okay.
All right. Until now.
Until now, because we have a very DQ version of it called Marry, Thwack, Puff Puff. We're going to give you 3 characters from Dragon Quest IX. Liam,
boy.
I hope you've got them queued up on your phone.
I do.
We have specifically not put them in the show notes here, so you're going in completely blind to this. You got to
Awesome.
You get to pick one character to marry, one to thwack, and it's always vague here whether you're getting a puff puff or giving a puff puff to the last person.
Yeah, we usually just leave it open to interpretation.
It's open to interpretation. Do you want a
Okay.
puff puff? Do you want to give a puff puff? But you're going to have 3 people, one to marry, one to thwack, one to puff puff around with. Go
I
ahead,
think,
Liam.
for example, I think on one episode, didn't Dwayne give a puff puff to Horse Medea? Or was it, or maybe Dog Moonbrook? It was like, it was one of those. He's like, oh, I'm going to puff puff that horse.
Yeah, so Dwayne definitely went there.
All right, so here's what we were thinking for DQ9 style Marry, Thwack, Puff Puff. All right, so your choices are Dr. Fleming, Fat Guts, who's the driver of the Starflight Express, and Aquila.
Conductor.
Yeah, the conductor. And Aquila. So Dr. Fleming, Fat Guts, and Aquila.
Oh gosh.
This will
See,
forever
see now I'm
define
like
you.
put on the spot.
And I have no memory of Dr. Fleming other than the name.
I don't either, so that's okay.
He's the guy mourning his wife in Coffinwell. Or he's trying to find the cure, and then she passes away before he can find the cure. So I don't know if that.
What he looks like.
He looks like a doctor in a brown robe or something.
He's
Did he
got
get the-
glasses, if I recall correctly.
Yeah,
Did he get the 3D sprite?
He did.
I think he did.
Well, now knowing that context, I feel a little bad.
His wife is gone.
So you're gonna whack him?
You gonna
Maybe.
whack him, send him to me see his wife?
Maybe. Okay, cool.
We've stumped you.
Great. I'd have to say Marry Fat Guts, although I know him as Sterling, Black Dr. Fleming, and Puff Puff Aquila.
You would thwack
Okay.
Dr. Fleming, send him to his wife. That's
Yeah,
honorable.
actually that is a better thought than the ones that I'd had, so I'll go with that.
What did you have?
I'd rather not say.
Okay. Awesome. All right, we'll leave that
All
up
right.
to interpretation. Now, Platty, I think we have a note on here about Quest of the Stars. Is there anything you wanted to discuss about?
It's very. I remember when I played it for that 1 week, long time ago, in a land far, far away. It reminded me of Dragon Quest IX immediately.
Oh,
I don't know if
absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
the character models, the dress up, maybe it was that more than anything else, but yeah, I got that vibe.
It's definitely a
Blank
high
slates.
res. Yeah, blank slates, right? It's a much higher res version of DQ9. And it shows you what can be done with an upgrade or with a remake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's just on mobile.
Seeing the first ads for Dragon Quest of the Stars, I was so excited because it's like, oh my gosh, it's Dragon Quest 9 on the internet on our phones, and like I'll be able to play Dragon Quest 9 with my brother again. And now it's not exactly the same, but it is multiplayer. And there is a lot of character customization that goes into it, so it's a lot of fun, and it definitely has the Dragon Quest nostalgia with the style and the equipment and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the nostalgia factor for this game. Not so much the plot. I do tend to skip through a lot of what the I forget what the squirrel. Oh, Cyril the squirrel. Cyril the
Oh
squirrel.
yeah, he's a piece of shit. But the story gets better as it goes. It unfortunately only is good in like 5-minute increments between all of the, like, I think it's like 160 story quests that there are in the first season that just wrapped up. So
Oh my.
Nice. Have they done a DQ9 event at all?
they have not. So
No.
actually, the game is in maintenance right now as we speak, and when it comes back up, Dragon Quest VII Part 2 is going to drop.
Oh, wow.
So they're still in Dragon Quest VII. So Dragon Quest 8, 8 comes after 7. That's theoretically coming next.
Yeah.
But at that point, Japan did something weird because they actually skipped Dragon Quest IX and went straight to Dragon Quest XI to coincide with the release of that game out in Japan. So we aren't really sure what they're going to do with Global, if they're going to do the same order of events or if they'll actually remember how to count.
Oh, yeah, because I feel like it's been a long time since they even did the Dragon Quest VI.
Yes.
That was about 6 months ago, right?
Yes, Dragon Quest VI was at the end of the summer, so it's been a while. And Dragon Quest VII, I want to say it was the part 1 was at the beginning of November, or something along those lines. But there's just been a lot of other filler events going on in the meantime, and there was a big Christmas campaign and a New Year's campaign and all of that. But they're back on it for right now.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, if we've moved away from Dragon Quest IX, then it's time to wrap up this episode of Slime Time. Thank you, Bluestar, for joining us to talk about that game tonight.
Thanks so much, Bluestar.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
You might have noticed that the only time we ever mention Patreon on our podcast is when we say we don't use Patreon. We're just longtime fans that want to speak about the game series we know and love so much. If you do have any money you would like to donate, consider sliding on over to the Dragon's Den at www.woodus.com/den and click on support this site. Woodus has owned and maintained the Dragon's Den fan site for over 20 years and would appreciate any and all donations. Or you can use his various Amazon affiliate links to make purchases, Dragon Quest 11S, and pretty much anything else that you can still buy new on Amazon. He's got an affiliate link for it.
And if you're an advertiser and you're looking for a great podcast to spend lots of ad revenue on, reach out to us at slimetimepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us on Twitter at PlattyM3 or at RiamaCelestian, or hit up both of us simultaneously at DQ Slime Time.
Consider joining in tons of DQ discussions at the Dragon's Den forums, one of the few remaining DQ forums still around. You can always find it at the main page of the Den or at www.woodus.com/forums. Still always posting there, keeping people up to date on different translation things. I see over at GBA Temp, we got a couple different translation efforts going on currently. We've got somebody working on the third Torneko Taloon game. The Mystery Dungeon, so that's pretty cool.
Is that the GBA or the PS2 version?
The GBA version he's working on.
Oh, gotcha. Cool.
So consider joining us or on the Dragon's Den unofficial Discord. We'd like to thank everyone that made this podcast possible tonight, like Brian, aka Woodus, for his support of the series and this podcast, and keeping the Dragon's Den lights on for decades now.
And thanks to Amanda Lepre and the Descendants of Verdrick for allowing us to use their music for our podcast. Descendants of Verdrick is a video game tribute band from Austin, Texas. Check them out in their most recent album, Advent, at www.descendantsofverdrick.com or on Twitter at @DAVerdrick, and check out Amanda Lepre on streaming on Twitch.
As always, our thanks to Dwayne Bullock, our wonderful graphic artist, Dragon Quest fan, for making this awesome artwork cover for the podcast. Dwayne was on the original iteration of the Slime Time podcast 8-9 years ago, and he's been on tons of our episodes since. You can check out more of his work at Dwayne Art on Instagram or his website at DwayneBullockArt.BigCartel.com.
And thanks once again, Bluestar, for joining us. Bluestar is a regular of our Side Quest podcast. So check out all of her episodes of Slime Time Side Quest. And if you're looking for more Dragon Quest Slime Time, check out our earlier episodes on Dragon's Den, Anchor FM, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and more.
Bye, everyone.
Dragon Quest Slime Time, sliming off.